so now we're gonna switch a little bit to Second Amendment, and Huey Laugesen is with us with CSSA. I want to share one story that I think links these together very well. When we were down at the border, one of the most interesting connections I heard between what's happening with the drug cartels and the Second Amendment is this. A lot of people know the history of Mexico, that Mexicans had the right to own guns until 1971. What happened in 1971 is that several citizens, Mexican citizens, rose up against a corrupt government. They did not eventually win in their fight against a corrupt government. What was the first thing that the government did? Took away their guns. So what happened in 1972, the Constitution was amended, the Mexican Constitution, to give the federal government total control over firearm access. So what happened after that? In Mexico, there is one gun store. One in the entire country. It's in Mexico. If you can wait long enough to buy a gun, if you can afford the gun, if you finally can go through all those steps, you are never allowed to take that weapon outside of your home. So how do you allow a corrupt military, the drug cartels, to take over? If law-abiding citizens can't have guns, the only people that do are the criminals. So there is a connection here, and this is why, if we want to make sure that we keep ourselves free, our Second Amendment is essential, because it is always the first step of tyrants to take away our guns. So there's a connection there. And by the way, most of the murder capitals of the world, I think it's the top 8 out of 10, are in Mexico. One of them is right across the border from El Paso, and that is why when they took away guns from law-abiding citizens, the drug cartels now control 65% of Mexico, probably more than that, and the murder rate doubled what it was in 1972. So there's a correlation here, and I know most of this is about safety and security. So we're going to switch gears now. Thank you, Huey, for being so patient, and obviously the sheriff and John are going to speak to this as well because they're big Second Amendment supporters. But let's talk about this. There's a lot going on in the legislature right now for Second Amendment. And we want to talk about this particularly because there's a couple of dates coming up that I encourage everyone to go and make your voice heard. Let's talk about what's going on right now, the bill that is absolutely inane, that basically is, let me look at which one this is. SB 25003, the 2025 semi-automatic gun ban that would allow any gun that has a removable magazine. Tell us about that and where that stands and what we can do.
All right, thank you, Deborah. And I also would like to thank both Mr. Fabbricatore and Sheriff Weekly for everything that they've said on the topic of sovereignty and border security. I really appreciate that. So yeah, Senate Bill 3, the semi-automatic firearm ban. That's exactly right. It will ban any firearm that accepts a detachable magazine and uses a gas system to cycle the action. And the reason they stipulated that is because they wanted to say, oh, you know, your Glock won't be banned by this, but your AR platform pistol will be banned by this. And now, that is an incredibly sweeping gun ban. That would ban all modern sporting rifles, the most popular home defense firearms, the top-rated home defense firearms for women in this country, most common competition rifles, and numerous commonly owned pistol and shotgun models. Just because, you know, your average Glock, it doesn't use a gas system to cycle the action, there are many handguns that people carry on a daily basis for concealed carry that do use those systems and will be banned by Senate Bill 3. So it is incredibly it is a very far-reaching gun ban, clearly unconstitutional. It obviously flies in the face of the Bruin decision and lots of other Supreme Court precedent. And so it passed on January 28th through the Senate State Military and Veterans Affairs Committee on a party line vote of 3-2. And it now the next step in that phase is for it to go to the Senate floor for its second reading and vote. And then if it passes that, it'll go to its third and final reading in the Senate chamber and off to the House of Representatives, which is, after it makes it through all of the processes in that chamber, it goes to the governor's desk. Hopefully, it never gets all the way through that process. Now, we have seen some promising developments happen with this. For example, Senator Mark Snyder, originally signed on as a sponsor of the bill. And that was when opponents were really pushing this thing as a mechanism of enforcing an existing high-capacity magazine ban. Because they were really focusing on the detachable magazine part of this, and they were trying to market it as a magazine ban, when in reality, the object of the ban are tons and tons of firearms that are in common use today. And so Democrat Senator Mark Snyder is one person who was supporting the bill, sponsored it. He said he's not going to vote for it because he knows what it actually is now. He was under the illusion that it was a mechanism of enforcing a magazine ban. And now he knows that it is a sweeping gun ban and he won't vote for it. And so, there has been a lot of work from the pro-2A movement in Colorado to shine a light on this and really show Colorado voters this bill for what it actually is. And so now it is starting to bleed Democrat support, including the majority whip, Nick Heinrichsen, said he won't vote for it. That's not terribly surprising. He won his Senate district by less than 3 points. So, but it is starting to bleed Democrat support. It has been scheduled for its second reading on the Senate floor twice now, and it's been delayed both times. So that is coming back up for a Senate floor vote, I think, later this week, and we'll see what happens then.
Well, and we appreciate your taking that. You guys are really leading a great charge against that. What can people here do? Because I know that CSSA is targeting vulnerable Democrats and getting their constituents to reach out to them. What can people do here? Is there going to be an opportunity to testify against it coming up, or how do they sign up and make sure that they can reach out to those legislators also?
Well, my hope is that there won't be another opportunity to testify against this bill. There was an opportunity when it was up in the Senate State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, and hundreds and hundreds of pro-2A supporters in Colorado showed up to the Capitol that day, and they testified in opposition to this bill. Testimony against the bill went on for hours and hours and hours after they got through all of the people who were there to testify in favor of it. And then it was just one after another of Colorado voters there saying they opposed this bill for hours and hours and hours, and there was nobody left for hours to testify in favor of it. So we had a very strong showing there. The ideologue partisan Democrats on that committee, they were not persuaded by that showing, of course, and they voted to advance the bill anyways. The next opportunity to testify against it would be if it makes it to the House, and then it's up in a House committee, but we're hoping that that does not happen. We have been, as she said, targeting vulnerable Democrat senators. So actually, just a couple of days before Nick Heinrichsen announced that he was not going to vote for this thing, we sent out a text message in his district to tens of thousands of constituents who, with the help of our data experts, we modeled as pro-gun constituents. And we made sure his phone number was on this list too. And the text message basically read, your state senator, Nick Heinrichsen, is about to vote on the 2025 semi-automatic gun ban. Here's what this gun ban does. We listed all of the things that it would ban that I just went over with you. And we said, please call email Nick Heinrichsen and respectfully explain to him that if he votes to ban common use firearms that are protected under the Second Amendment, you will unfortunately be voting him out of office. And about a day or two later, Nick Heinrichsen comes out with a statement saying that he's not going to vote for the bill. So that was very effective. It shows you that when we as constituents, even though it might feel pointless at times, like it's not going to do anything, it shows you that when we reach out to our public officials and we make our voices heard and we make rational arguments and we show them that it is not in their best interest to attack our rights in this way, they listen. And it can have an effect. So one thing you all can do is reach out to your senator. Find out who your senator is. If you go to Google, type in "find my legislator." You can type in your address, your zip code. It'll tell you who your senator is, who your state representative is. It'll give you their email, their phone number for their office, and you can call them, you can email them, and let them know that you oppose this bill and you ask them to do the same thing. And so that is one big thing you could do, and I ask you all to do that.
And we're gonna make sure on the Facebook page that you have a link, and Huey's gonna start doing it because CSSA has great resources that says sign up to testify for this, keep an eye on this, and you can make your voice heard. Many may remember, I think it was last legislative cycle, when they would have enacted a ban that would have banned the 10 handguns that women most use for self-defense, myself included, and 500 people showed up and that was killed. Don't buy into the fact that in Colorado we cannot make a difference. We got out of the super minority because someone down in Colorado Springs won by 3 votes. The only way we lose is when we stop trying. So I appreciate what CSSA does on that. We're going to highlight a couple other things, but I want to bring it to these two gentlemen as well. Sheriff Weekly, we were talking about this because one of the bills that we are in support of is a constitutional carry of a handgun. That is something we want to support. And we were talking about how interesting it is that criminals aren't stupid. They tend to go to gun-free places, and partly what happened over the weekend and a reflection on that.
Yeah, I was just telling Deborah, so we had a shooting that my officers were involved in on Saturday night at the main event in Highlands Ranch. And I can't go into detail about it, it's still a very active investigation and more will be coming out. I will tell you that any information that you see in the media, we're already telling the news stations, don't run with the garbage that you guys are seeing on social media because it's not accurate. But what, the point that I want to make is the main event, that entertainment center is a gun-free zone. Guess what happened? Criminals came in and shot the place up. And they shot a girl that was in the bathroom there. And as those shots were ringing out, my deputy sheriffs ran towards the gunfire when everybody else was running out. But I just found it ironic that on the doors you see gun-free zones. Criminals don't care. And what's amazing to me, and it just baffles me because I have been down at the Capitol testifying on these bills, they're just like, we'll just pass a law. That's all we need to do, pass a law, problem solved. It's ignorant, it's just stupid, and the criminals don't care. They're laughing at the legislature.
And by the way, once again, persuading our neighbors, I'm sure we all remember the Aurora Theater shooting. The fact that that shooter went past numerous theaters in his neighborhood because they were not gun-free theaters and went to one that was. And the tragedy of it was there were military people there who did not have their own weapons and instead put their bodies over others to save them and were killed. So we can't persuade people about, just like Mexico, who has the guns, the criminals, just like the situation here, who has them. John, I think you were there that day when hundreds of people showed up. In fact, I saw you at a rally for 2A on one side of the building, at the same time we were at the school choice rally on the other side. Anything you want to add to this?
So I am 100% a 2A, shall not infringe, so 100%. I believe you should be able to buy and purchase whatever you want. This is America. With that being said, we are having some issues right now with illegal immigration and firearms. Every single Tren de Aragua person that we're involved with right now is armed. They all carry guns. And in fact, you know, if you see these guys, these South American guys, they're running around with these little bags across. Most of them probably have guns in those bags. That's how they carry them down in South America. That's how they carry them over in Venezuela. They get their hands on guns. Are they buying them legally? Hell no. They're stealing them. All right, and they're buying these guns illegally. So if the bad guys can have guns, you should have a gun to defend yourself. 100%. You should be allowed to carry that gun constitutionally because as a United States citizen, the Second Amendment says so.
Hear, hear, and who on. So, Huey, a couple other things. That you have a great list. I'm on the CSSA email, and I encourage everyone to because there's so many things that are going on, and we need to be vigilant. Let's just talk about a couple of others, and then I want to make sure everybody knows how they can support what you all are doing because you guys are really on the forefront. We've seen how it works. You target certain individuals. So of the ones that are coming up, there's 1164, 1133, 1128. Which would you say is the other one or two that we really need to keep our eye on right now that we might have an immediate chance to testify for or against?
Absolutely. So, well, there are a number of bad gun bills that they're trying to put through right now. So I guess I'll give you the top hits. You know, there is Senate Bill 34, and that is sort of if you're familiar with the red flag law that we have in Colorado, this is a sort of a self-red flag law. And so, and the name of the bill is a voluntary do not sell firearms waiver that somebody can put themselves, you know, apply to have themselves put on a list of people who cannot buy firearms, and they can render themselves a prohibited person voluntarily. Yeah. And
I don't think anyone is in this room that would probably do that.
And according to the bill, it's going to be pretty easy to get yourself on this list if you desire it at any point in time, right? Problem is, there's nothing about the bill tells you that it's going to be easy to get yourself off this list. You know, you might want to, you know, somebody might want to sign this waiver and then come to regret that decision and have good reason, as many of us do, to exercise their God-given right to keep and bear arms. But you know, if there's one thing I know about the government is that they aren't necessarily known for being so willing to give back freedoms that they have revoked, even if they were handed over voluntarily. That's just not really what they're in the business of doing. So that's a major problem. So that one, I believe, has a committee hearing coming up very soon. I don't actually have the date in front of me, but like she said, you can sign up for our email list. We do send out legislative briefings at least once a week, updating you on the status of every single anti-gun bill in the Colorado legislature and when its next committee hearing is and what are the important dates of that. I also am now part of the Douglas County Citizenry Facebook group, and I will be posting that information in the Facebook group. So keep your eyes out for that information on the Douglas County Citizenry Facebook group, because I will be posting that and I'll be asking you all to come and testify against these bills. Another really bad bill is House Bill 1133. So this is regarding ammunition sales. It would do basically three things regarding ammunition sales. First of all, it bans ammo displays in gun stores. So pretty much, yeah. So you know, you go to Shields, then you know, got a wall of ammo. You can grab your box of ammo, you take it to the clerk, and you buy your ammo. No more of that. They have to keep the ammo locked away somewhere that you can't see it, and then you have to go request the ammo. And so that causes a lot of problems for retailers and and FFLs who are trying to sell ammunition at gun shows and that sort of thing. So that's going to really hurt those businesses a lot. It also would increase the age to purchase any kind of ammunition from 18 to 21 years old. So right now, 18-year-olds, they can buy rifle ammunition because they had recently been allowed to own rifles and purchase rifles. So they could purchase rifle ammunition. And right now, they still can purchase rifle ammunition. This bill would change that. So now you have to be 21 years old to purchase any kind of ammunition in the state of Colorado. Along with that comes age verification requirements for online sales of ammunition. So that's going to make, that's going to put a lot of strain. That's another thing that's going to put a lot of strain on these businesses that are in the firearms industry in Colorado. And in fact, a lot of businesses might just not want to deal with the hassle of that. So we might just see a reduction in the availability of online, of our ability to purchase ammunition online if this bill goes through. This one also is going to have a committee hearing coming up very soon, so please keep your eyes out on the Facebook page and do sign up for our email list so that you can receive these updates about when these things are going to happen so that you can sign up to testify against them.
Yeah, thank you, Huey. And what I saw from your emails, that one is actually this Thursday, February 13th at 1:30 p.m. You can also, by the way, submit testimony, written testimony. Is that correct? So if you are not able to go down, send it in. Every person that reaches out to a legislator, the math in their head usually is that represents about 1,000 people. So definitely do that. We're going to open up to questions here in just, yes, go ahead, Chris.
All right. Huey, thank you for all that great information. In the past, I'll say the past cycle, Governor Polis has stated that he was not going to support certain Democratic legislation because he felt that it was going to be found unconstitutional. So what was the point in that? He's been a little wishy-washy on SB 3. So two parts to that. Concerned that if it does pass through, will he actually sign it into law? Where he's been kind of opposed to certain bills in the past. This one seems unconstitutional to me. And then second, what do you think? Do we have any sense of what might happen if it is passed into law?
So the question was about particularly SB 3. Governor Polis has said that he is not likely to support certain things if it might be found unconstitutional. What is the likelihood of that, and where would this play out if it passes?
So to answer that question, I think that's a very, that's a nice sounding answer from Governor Polis as to why he didn't support these previous measures in previous years. What I know about Governor Polis is he's a political animal, and that is how he operates. So, the last 2 years before this, the Democrats tried to pass these assault weapons bans, and they were calling them that unashamedly, and that, you hear that, and as an American, you know that is unconstitutional, that is not right, and that's a big deal. And Governor Polis knows that. Perhaps he wants to run for president one day, I don't know. But that sort of thing, it doesn't look good for him. Now this, he's been a lot more wishy-washy on, because this bill, the way that they've talked about it, the way they've presented it to us, is a lot more wishy-washy. So it kind of gives him that leeway, I think. So I think the key with Governor Polis is going to be the pro-2A movement in Colorado really shining a light on this thing and showing the voters of Colorado what it really is, in a way that Governor Polis just cannot ignore. Now, I think that's going to be the key. Will he sign it if it reaches his desk? I don't actually know. If he does, the Colorado State Shooting Association will certainly be fighting it in the court. courts to get it overturned, just like we are looking at right now with the guns and ammo tax that recently passed in November. So we will be doing that. We have the Second Amendment, God, and Supreme Court precedent on our side. And so I think if it does get signed into law, it will ultimately be overturned in the courts. Hopefully, we can defeat it before then.
And what I would say is, obviously many of us have a senator that will take the right stand. Let's all flood Governor Polis's inboxes, because the reality is we are now protected still. Let me put it this way. Before, we are protected only because Governor Polis would actually veto something. We have held that because we did not go into a super minority in the Senate, if that makes sense. So he, in some ways, is still our final step. So if your senator will be Second Amendment, then make your effort at Governor Polis, because he is a political animal. And then we have the court system as the other check and balances within our situation. So when this gets sued, make sure you support CSSA. We're at 8 o'clock. We're going to take one more question. Yes, sir, John.
Sort of pending legislation is one thing, but existing, to your point, and things like the 6.5 tax that takes place effective like April 1st. Are you working with other Colorado gun organizations like Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, etc., to kind of coalesce the forces along those lines?
So I'll repeat the question. In terms of our legal efforts to get existing legislation overturned, like the 6.5% guns and ammo tax that just passed in November. The question was, are we working with other pro-gun organizations in those efforts? And he specifically asked, are we working with Rocky Mountain Gun Owners and other statewide pro-2A organizations? So the answer is yes, it is a team effort. On this lawsuit, we have Colorado State Shooting Association, which is the official state association of the NRA, and then we have the Second Amendment Foundation and the National Rifle Association of America, all working together on looking at overturning the 6.5% guns and ammo tax that was passed in November. We do not have any other statewide Pro-2A organizations working on it with us, but that's okay. I think with the Second Amendment Foundation and the National Rifle Association and the Colorado State Shooting Association, I think we've got a really good team to go after that thing in the courts.
Thank you. And I think we had one other question somewhere over here. Yes, go ahead, Rick.
Well, thanks, Deborah. Rick Wilson, citizen of Douglas County. I'm a member of the CSSA, and if you guys want to become a member of the CSSA, you can always donate $5 or $10 to help us with these lawsuits. My question is, how many guns approximately with this ban, and would we be grandfathered in? Would we be able to keep our AR rifle, or would we have to turn it in? Would it be confiscated? And my understanding is any gun that is uses ignition of powder creates gas. That's what propels the bullet out of the barrel. So even a Glock is considered a gas-operated semi-automatic. Is it really delineated that the Glock is okay, or is that wishy-washy and it's up to interpretation?
All right, so I will repeat those questions real quick. So, first question was how many guns will this ban, and will people who already own those guns be grandfathered in? I don't actually know the answer to the number of guns this will ban. I know that there are a lot of guns in common use that will be banned by this. My understanding is that if you own one, you will be grandfathered in, because it actually is not going to ban ownership or possession. It will ban the manufacture, sale, and transfer. So if you own it, you can't give it away. You can't gift it to somebody. You can't sell it unless it's to an FFL to be destroyed or something like that. But so since it doesn't ban ownership or possession, you would effectively be grandfathered in that way. So the second question that you had was, so the gas operation question. So you asked, obviously when you fire a round out of the Glock, that produces gas. That is true. This bill would ban any firearm that uses a gas block and a gas tube to redirect that gas produced by the round that was fired into the bolt carrier group to then cycle the action and ready the firearm to fire it again. The other system is called an inertia system, which does not redirect the gas produced by that round being fired to cycle the action, but instead uses basically the force from the recoil, essentially, to cycle the action.
And if that sounds confusing, I think the Democrats want it that way, because this is just the beginning, by the way. Thank you so much, and thank you for that answer, Huey. Sheriff Weekly, I want to give you I've been having a lot of fun also watching your expressions during some of these. Is there anything that you would like to add to this conversation, not to put you on the spot?
No, as a sheriff, I call myself not only just a Second Amendment supporter, I'm a Second Amendment defender. Sadly, I'm one of a handful of sheriffs, there's 64 of us in the state, that will actually go to the Capitol, testify in uniform to protect your Second Amendment rights. And while I have the mic real quick, one of our state legislators, Bob Marshall, in Highlands Ranch, he's putting forward another bill, I'm hoping he decides not to, that essentially would neutralize the office of sheriff from being a political position. So I couldn't come here in uniform and be political. It's ridiculous. I'm an elected official. I'm not a police chief. The citizens of Douglas County have elected me. But he's trying to put a bill forward that the sheriffs can't engage in anything political as the sheriff.
Anti-American.
Yeah, and that I can't endorse political candidates. It's not just me, it's all sheriffs. So hopefully that bill won't go anywhere. He had a stakeholder meeting, it did not go well for him. And so I'm hoping he kills it, but this is the second time he's brought this bill up. They don't like people like me in uniform showing up down at the Capitol. And so to have that taken away would be a travesty.
And thank you. And there's two things I will say about that. Here at DCC, we are focused on expanding the movement of freedom. We're focused not on attacking other conservatives, be they Republicans. We're focused on turning seats, like HD 43, and we will work together to do something like that, because we always have to keep our eye on where our freedoms are being threatened, and it is not here in this room with one another. So that's a unifying force. John, I will give you the last word also. I'll probably have the last word.
We know who's going to have that.
Oh, John! We've been on the air so many times together.
Deborah's awesome. So number one, thank you for even having me here. I really appreciate it. I know working with Sheriff Weekly over the last couple of weeks, this guy is unbelievably incredible. I mean, Douglas County should be honored. Thank you for having me here. I'm always available to answer questions about immigration, because I want you guys, when you go out, to be educated in what you say, because the left is going to continue attacking us on this. And if you don't have the right information, they will just continue to attack you. And we are grounded constitutionally. We know what we're talking about. We're going to make America a safer place. We're going to get a hold of our immigration system, have a good legal immigration, and what we should have, so people can come here that are going to give back to the United States, not just take from it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, John, I do get the last password. I want to make a couple other announcements. Rick, I appreciate your mentioning being a member for CSSA. I just became a member today. It's $50, and that money goes to exactly what you're talking about, where you can contribute. Huey will be posting on our Facebook group about how you can support the great work they're doing. I also want to let you know that we have another gentleman that came tonight who is a new friend, Mike Chapman, former police officer down in the Sheriff's Department or police? Sheriff's Department, way to go. From Florida, but now lives in Colorado Springs. He's with a group called Right to Bear. They help provide, if you become a member, he can tell you more about it. If you are a gun owner, they help you have the protection should you have to use your firearm. There's information back there so that you can find out more. Pete Hegseth was one of their big spokespeople. He's a little busy now. But as well as our friend Sebastian Gorka was also one of the big spokespeople. He is also kind of busy now. But please talk to Mike on the way out. Please support CSSA. And then please do make sure you sign for emails. Our next meeting will either be Monday, March 10th, or possibly moving it to a Wednesday, March 12th. The location may change as well. So sign up for that. We're going to be talking about the school boards and protecting what we have here in Douglas County as well as in other areas. And I think that is finally it. Most of all, thank you so much for being here. Let's give another round of applause for our